This is a Party Change project funded by the National Lottery Community Fund. I'm your host, Jamila Faisal, and this is Jampacked. So, in today's episode, we are joined with Susan and Zoops, and we'll be focusing on homelessness and also the work that you have done previously with the homelessness and how your experience has been being homeless yourself. So, let's get into it. Cool. Okay, so one of the first questions I want to ask you guys, specifically to Susan, is when you first became homeless, tell me, your experience when you first became homeless. How it was for you.
When I first became homeless, it was a bit of a struggle. I was struggling to find somewhere to live, but then that's when when I first was homeless, I decided to move myself out of a toxic household. So from when I first moved out, and then from there, that's when I thought I'd go back home and see how it is, but then it got worse and worse, and that's when I decided to just not go back at all, and I haven't been back for years now.
Okay, so I'm assuming that must have been really difficult. If you don't mind me asking, like, how old were you when you first?
18.
18. Wow. Okay, that was pretty young. So
I was 18 when I first moved out. Yeah.
Yeah, 18, and that was your own decision, and it was because of circumstances at home.
Yeah.
And you were struggling. First of all, I can't even imagine how that would be, but also, it's one of those topics where people don't really talk about it as much because it's a bit of a touchy issue.
Yeah.
But I think especially with this podcast, what we're trying to do is trying to bring awareness to these issues and trying to make it so that people are aware of these situations that are really it's literally life, it happens.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a common, issue that needs to be spoken about more. Okay, going to you now, Zibs. So when did you first sort of start working with the homeless? And tell me about your experience with it.
I started working with Help the Homeless Leicester almost 8 years ago when my dad passed away. I basically cooked some food. I went into Leicester City Town Centre and I started distributing food. I heard of a gentleman called Arif Varoji, amazing gentleman, we're still very dear friends till today, that at Leicester Market on a Thursday that they would feed people. So I rang him up, said, I'm going to cook some food and I'm going to bring it down, and that's where it all started from. I'd cook anything up to 25 kilos of meat or chicken and take it to the Leicester Market. We'd get food from other places as well, the likes of Greg's, then you had crisps and sandwiches from Samworth Brothers, and literally you could come to the market on that particular day and walk away with 3-4 days food. And then unfortunately we hit COVID, and then now the Leicester City Council, unfortunately, they don't allow us to do anything from there. But we had a place on Abbey Street in Leicester.
Okay, yeah. Well, honestly, that sounds amazing, and it's one of those things where obviously food is such a big part of the necessities whilst being homeless, but also that must have been something that you had to take a lot of time out of and just sort of really figure out before you went and to do it, because for you personally, how did you plan out things when you did that?
I didn't plan anything, to be honest with you. I just went with what people's needs were. And what I find is, in today's day and age, the world lacks humanity. Yeah.
Definitely.
It really does. It lacks humanity. And it's too easy to look the other way. It's too easy to turn your cheek and say somebody else will deal with it.
Yeah, no, honestly, in today's day and age, you have to pay someone to literally smile at you. It's gotten to that point where people aren't genuinely looking to help others, and it's really sad because it's where's that humanity gone? Where is it? I can't see it. It's such a struggle. So yeah, Yeah, no, definitely.
It's like we're living in a political system which is broken. Okay,
Yeah, no,
you've got this huge divide,
yeah,
and people think that there isn't an issue when there is a huge issue. You only need to go around the local city centres.
literally. If it's not happening to you, then it isn't happening at all.
Yes.
That's a mentality, isn't it? Okay, so another question that I've got is, when you were homeless, what was something that, when you felt like really alone, what was something that helped you feel less alone?
Obviously, I have family out of Leicester. I have an island where my family live called the Isle of Man.
Okay.
I have family over there, and a couple of months back, I lost one of my close cousins, and that hit me really hard because it was his last Christmas last year. But obviously, I've got one of my other cousins that I'm really close with, and she's like my best friend, and I'll always thank her for everything. And she was the one that actually got me out of my mum's house when it was really toxic. And I obviously, if I ever need any help, or
Yeah.
I'd always go to her. I'd just have to give her one call, and she's right there.
That was your
She's always
person.
with me.
You know, from the get-go, like, so from when you were young, you always like knew of each other, and you kind of
Yeah.
like had that bond.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to make sure that you have that someone, even if it's literally just one person that you can confide in, you can talk to, you can let them know, you can rant to them and whatnot. And if you don't mind me asking, like, there's a lot of reasons why people become homeless. You know, it could be financial reasons, it could be family issues, it could be things going on in their life. If you don't mind, like, what were a few things that compelled you to make the decision to leave your house?
Me and my mum have a love and hate relationship, and it got to the point where at some point me and mum were just fighting every single day. And that's when I decided I can't deal with it no more. And then that's at 19 years old. I was got told by the doctors that's when I have depression and anxiety, and it's
Okay.
mostly come from my mum.
Yeah, so it got passed down.
It got passed down, yeah. But
That's
it is
something.
really hard. It really is. But you always have those people in your life that will
Yeah.
always be there for you.
Yeah, yeah.
They have you back no matter what.
Yeah. No, so it was definitely a lot of like back and forth with your mum and just
Yeah.
really not seeing eye to eye at
Yeah.
all. And you were just like, right, okay.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point where I literally have to leave this environment for my own sanity.
Mhm.
And so you had to make that decision.
Coming back now to it, I'm glad I left that house now. I don't even speak to my mum anymore.
Not on speaking terms.
I've cut her out of my life for good now.
Okay. Yeah.
I class my cousin as my mum now
Yeah.
because she's always been there for me no matter what.
She's that mother figure to you.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think
It's
it's
okay.
really important that we speak about these things because, you know, unfortunately, you don't necessarily hear about these things because they're so tucked away. Like, unless you really kind of like ask somebody about it or someone's willing to talk to you, then it's something that isn't really spoken about. Also, going back to you, Zubs, in terms of like the people that you worked with, you know, in the homeless shelters and whatnot, what did you find was one of the biggest factors for people being homeless?
Just different experiences in life. There was what you find is through traumas in life, what they've actually done is they've resorted to alcohol, they've resorted to drugs as a gateway,
Yeah.
and then that actually consumes them. Where it was there to actually help block out pain.
Yeah, it's like self-medicating.
Yeah.
But it gets to the point where unfortunately all the money that you get is put back into that addiction or into that reliance. And unfortunately, because of the situation that people are in being homeless. Like, people think, oh, homeless people, they buy alcohol and they buy drugs and that's all they do. But you have to realize that when you're in that situation yourself, having no roof over your head, having nowhere to go, what would you rely on? What would you buy? You'd want to numb the pain. You'd want to escape. You'd want to do something. So I think that's something that we should always keep in mind, because I think it's really easy for people to kind of judge and point fingers and kind of be like, this is why, or this is why you're homeless, or this is why you've not got a job, or this and that. But yeah, no, addiction can consume you.
It does. It absolutely does consume you. I mean, it doesn't even have to be alcohol or drugs. It can be gambling. Gambling, it has that domino effect where initially it's just that buzz. Then, oh, I've had a windfall. Then from there, hopefully I'll get it again. I'll win again. I'll win again. Next thing you know,
It becomes that cycle, doesn't
yes,
it?
they're taking out loans. They're securing it against their own properties, and next thing you know, there's no equity left in the house. The banks are taking people's properties away from them, and then on the 11th hour, the families are being told, "Hang on, we don't have a home anymore." Yeah, from rags to riches. Sorry, the other way around, from riches to rags. Yeah, but it's another addiction, and a lot of things are to do with mental health.
Mm.
People, men especially.
Yeah, on regards to like mental health, I was reading up on a few things in terms of homelessness before I came to do this episode, and one of the things is that people that are sleeping rough or homeless, they are 9 times more likely to take their own life than the general population. It's massive and it's really upsetting.
In many cases, what we found was that a lot of our service users, they didn't have that father figure,
They didn't have that sort of
authority in their life. They were from broken homes.
yeah.
And Arif and I, we would take some of the service users with us to do what our duties were. And we were strict with them. And they said, if only I had somebody like you, growing up, I may not be where I am today. It's unfortunate, but I'm a single parent.
Yeah.
My son's 21 years old now.
Yeah.
He's been with me since the age of 4.
Yeah. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to you then, Susan. So, of course, being homeless is a very tricky and difficult situation to be put in for anybody.
Yeah.
But what would you say were your key struggles that you faced when you were put into the situation of being homeless? What was something that really affected you?
Not for me. It was feeling like I wasn't doing a good enough job. I felt like I was a failure. That I wasn't doing very good. I wasn't making my family proud. But it turns out that I did struggle quite a lot. I was trying to find somewhere. I wasn't getting anywhere. But that's when I found this one place, this one hostel that I used to live at. And at first it was all right, and then I took a really bad turn again. But before that, I was living, my stepdad took me in to help me out. And I took a really bad turn as well then.
Okay.
It was quite bad. I didn't know what to do with myself, really.
Yeah, honestly, I can't even imagine. I can't even think for a second how it would be in your situation. Okay, one of the next questions I have is, what was one of the pushing factors for you when you were homeless to be like, right, I want to turn my life around now. I want to make a change.
When the hostel I used to live at, I thought I was going there for a fresh start. I did have friends in there that I've got a fresh start with, and still to this day, after moving out, I am still good friends with them. But then the toxic people came involved, and that's when I thought I was going in the right path. But that's when I took a really bad turn, and I started following them and doing things that I shouldn't do.
kind of being influenced by them in a negative way.
Oh, definitely. They were the bad influence. But then that's when I moved out. Well, I got kicked out, but after that, now I'm on top of my I'm on top of everything with my depression. I've got my life on track. I'm not as bad as what I was. I'm not worse now. I'm better now than what I was when I was in the hostel. Definitely. I take that as 100%.
Yeah, okay. That's really good to hear because obviously, like, homelessness is tough and it's so horrible to be in, but you almost have to sort of like really try your best to get out of that situation
Yeah.
because no one's going to give you their hand and help you. You have to kind of make that move
Yeah,
yourself.
you have to do it for yourself. You can't always rely on other people to help
Yeah.
you with your situation.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You've got to find the end of the tunnel, and
Yeah.
with that light that you see at the end of that tunnel, that's when you know you have grabbed it and you've actually got somewhere without relying on anyone, and that you know you can do it yourself
Yeah, no, definitely.
without actually asking for help. And
Definitely.
that's what I did. And now I've found the end of that tunnel and I'm actually getting somewhere.
Yeah, no, it's really nice to hear that, Susan. Honestly, I know I've only met you today, but like from what I can see of you, you seem really resilient. You seem like the type that's not going to give up. You seem like no matter what barriers you face, you're going to punch through them.
Oh, definitely. I don't like seeing other people homeless, like seeing like people younger than me, like 15, 16, and some of them are like, I've seen 16-year-olds in the hostel that I've lived in. I've seen probably like 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds living in that hostel, and to see that, it's horrible, but they
can
can't help
imagine.
it.
Yeah, it's all these different circumstances.
Everyone has different issues, everyone has different problems, and at the end of the day, if you want the help, you ask for the help and you reach out, or you could be more confident and have the opportunity to try and fight the battle yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely.
As well.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I fought that battle, and I thought to myself one day, I can't keep putting myself down.
Yeah, no, of course,
And
of course.
that's when I got up one day and I thought, do you know what, I'm not going to put myself down anymore.
You're like, right,
And
let's do something
let's
about
do
this.
something about it. And that's what I done.
Yeah, no, I commend you for that, honestly. Okay, now going back to you, Zibs. It's like a bit of back and forth, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so, whilst working with the homeless, what were some things that you saw and that you observed that was that pushing factor again to help them get back on track?
See, what we found with many people, they just needed that support. They needed that direction.
Yeah, that purpose in life.
Yes, and there was a few people who I mentored myself with Arif, and they've done absolutely amazingly, to the extent where we've taken them for rehab, for detox. But when it comes to addiction, because a lot of the people that we dealt with were men,
Okay.
over a certain age, and there was little support for them initially. And with the team there at Help the Homeless, they built inroads to different organisations, as well as they did their research. They helped with the benefit system, and all that sort of stuff.
It's one of those things that you mentioned, the benefit system and like the government and whatnot. Obviously now we've got a new government, fingers crossed it goes to plan. But I was reading up on some statistics, and one of them was the autumn of 2023. And so it was recorded that around 1,980 people were counted as homeless. But then the year before that, in 2022, it'd gone up by a quarter from 2022 to 2023. And then it had also mentioned that it had doubled from 2010 when the Conservatives first came to power, which I think is very interesting because sometimes you can see some correlation between also cost of living, which is very prominent right nowadays, and all these benefits that can be issued. But because of the way that the government is right now, it is so difficult for people to literally make ends meet. And unfortunately, sometimes that can be the reason for why they are homeless.
See, I'm involved with food banks as well, where I'm based, which is Radiant Institute on Overton Road in Leicester. We run a food bank from there. We also support New Park's Community Food Bank with a lady called Donna Elliott there, amazing lady again. Historically, we've supported Help the Homeless's food bank as well. So in terms of the cost of living, it affects all shapes. It affects all sorts of people.
It's horrible, isn't it,
Yes, it
nowadays? It's really diabolical.
So we're going back to the point of homelessness. It's ironic that during the COVID period, there wasn't anybody homeless. Okay, the government found accommodation for everybody.
Yeah, they managed to find all these magical places that just appeared out of nowhere. So it makes you think. It's like we live in a day and age where it's like there are these resources, but because of how these governments have, planned things out to be, unfortunately, there's nowhere to go. Unfortunately, we don't have any of this. We can't put this financial pressure on ourselves, or we can't come out with more benefits. It just makes you think. It's like
It's not a question of benefits. Our own government is spending money abroad, funding wars abroad when people here are going hungry. Yeah,
exactly.
right. This is the reality. Okay, we can all sit in our glass houses, okay, but the people on the floor, on the ground, who actually see what our communities are going
It's
through.
like, where is this money actually going? Where are taxes going? Because I can't see any improvements in the council situation.
I normally find it's a different government, same policies. Yeah, let's be realistic here.
Would you like to add on to anything about that in terms of like how the government is doing, and especially homelessness, and how that coincides with each other?
From experience, last time I was homeless, on the day that I got kicked out, I actually went down to Leicester Council, and they had gone and said to me that people on the streets are more important than me, even though that day I got kicked out.
It's one of those things where you have, like, also being in that industry, and those people should be the ones who are actually comforting you, should be the ones who are giving you support, should be the ones that are helping you out, but instead they come out with something like that.
They're going against you. They're going against you, even though you're at a young age. Even me at 20 years old, I am still struggling to this day.
And it's still an issue that you're facing.
I'm still facing it, and I'm still going against it. It's just, at the minute, it's just really hard to show it and not pushing myself towards it and not bashing myself down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not...
Honestly.
I'm trying not to bash it against it. I'm trying to move away from it and think, look, I can't do that. I can't go against it. I need to go against
it. But you're put in a situation where, unfortunately, you are at your wit's end. At the end of the day, it's like, we could go on about this forever, but there needs to be changes that are made. Whether it's the people that are working in those areas and the way that they deal with people, but also the way that they view every single individual as an equal ground. Would you agree?
So what you find is that they always refer to policies and guidelines, but hang on, we're humans. Where's the humanity in a policy and a guideline?
Exactly. Where is this humanity?
Yeah, it's what's lacking out there.
It's like you're showing me all these lines, you're showing me all these procedures and all of these, fine line prints. But hang on a second, do you bleed? Do you bleed? Or what's going on?
Different policies. I mean, where's the humanity in a policy? Okay, this has been written by white collar people. Okay, sat in an office somewhere with a concept. Actually, on the ground, it's a totally different thing. Yeah, I know. I've got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do outreach with Help the Homeless, right? Where we've got reports from StreetLink. People are sleeping in walkways. People are sleeping in hallways. The government, all they look for is their statistics. Yeah, so they can turn around and say that, we've helped with this issue.
They can give their big check and they can sleep at night.
Yeah, but what about the real people? Yeah?
Yeah,
As
and
I mentioned earlier, glass houses. Okay?
this is what we're going to, because, you know, it's tough. And we need to let the world know what's actually happening. We're not just going to show, you know, a picture-perfect image, because it's not how it goes, you know. Again, another statistic that I read was people that are homeless, the general age for women that die homeless are, it was 42, and for men it was 46, which is pretty young if you think about it. And it's very upsetting to see.
I mean, if you think about it, you've got people coming out the penal system. Okay? They've been incarcerated for a certain amount of time. They've paid their debt to society, and yet they've been put out on the streets. Okay? Now, there's not enough support for people like that. Okay? It's diabolical the way the actual system is set up, because currently the system is set up for mankind to fail. It's unfortunate there's no support for this young lady. There should where she's a very, very vulnerable person. Okay? Where are all the fail-safe systems to protect her? It's quite easy for her to fall within certain groups of people who will actually, I suppose, exploit her vulnerability.
It's one of those things where when you're in such a vulnerable position, you want to feel like you've got people around you. But unfortunately, what can happen is you can fall into these groups that you don't necessarily want to be around, but you've got no other choice, because you want to feel that security, you want to feel that sense of belonging.
But what you also find is you may be surrounded by 20 people, but you're still very, very lonely.
Exactly.
Okay?
Have you ever been in that position where you've been surrounded by people, but you still feel like you're alone?
Oh, definitely. Most days I do. But now I've got a new friend group. I've not felt like that for a while. Now
Okay.
I've got this new friend group, I've never felt like that.
Okay.
Since
and
I've
that's really
become
good to
a
hear.
part of this group, I've not felt it for a long time now.
Okay.
And I'm glad I don't.
Okay. That's really good to hear, because, again, the people that you surround yourself with is a big thing. I remember I was in, like, what was it, maybe year 8 or something. I was surrounded by a specific group of people. I started acting like them. And then by the time you know it, you become one of them. And then you've forgotten who you are
Yeah.
yourself. And it's like, what's actually going on here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least, what's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who is currently homeless, or who knows somebody who is homeless, or, you know, that sort of thing? It's alright, you can take your time. What about you, Zubs?
Believe in yourself, okay? Because if you don't believe in yourself, you won't move forward. Okay?
It's you and you.
Yeah.
It's literally the only person that you can rely on is yourself, and that is tough, and it's hard to hear.
Find the right person that will lead you into the right path.
Again, it's going back to finding those people who you know that you can feel safe around.
I've noticed that you actually do get some police officers as well that actually walk around town at night talking to the homeless people and actually trying to help them out. I've actually noticed that, and that's one of them that I've never seen until now. Police are actually starting to help the homeless and actually getting somewhere
and trying to do that.
and actually helping them and actually finding
yeah.
them somewhere.
And maybe they don't even need to do that, but they do that out of the kindness of their hearts to
Yeah.
try and, make them feel safe and make them feel like they've got
Definitely.
something. But yeah, no. Thank you both of you for coming to this episode today.
Thank you
I've
for
really
calling us.
enjoyed what you guys have had to give and the insight and everything. So yeah. This was Jampacked, and I will see you next time on the next episode. Goodbye!